Everything was good?
Yes, get the jitters out. Do something funny.
Why did that seem so familiar?
High School Musical.
Sharpay.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was somebody. I was like, I know that from somewhere.
Sharpay. How long name was Sharpay?
Yeah. Sharpay Evans.
Where you been?
I didn't know that name was Sharpay. Cut it. Okay, so we're not a gang. Let's get that out the way. Just because we got blue on, we're not.
Purely coincidental.
We're just simultaneous. And this blue cap, I don't know why, but I guess he wanted to join too, but I don't know why.
Blue lights, blue labels.
So, Sam.
Yes.
Sam U. Oliver. You know, we've been talking about this for years.
We have.
And it's a lot more coming. Like, I think once I do you as a professional, everybody else is going to follow along and want to interview, give us a lot of information about how we can save money in school.
Cool.
And potentially get a debt-free degree. But people don't like when I say that. They think it's impossible. But we ain't gonna jump the gun. First, we gotta give an introduction of who you are.
Okay.
So I got a little information on you.
Oh,
correct me when I'm wrong.
Oh, okay.
Correct me when
I
I'm
was
wrong.
expecting that. Okay.
So, Mr. Oliver studied at Columbus Technical College.
I did.
DeVry University.
Yeah.
DeVry University.
Mm-hmm.
He got his associates at Columbus Tech. He got his bachelor's at DeVry.
Mm-hmm.
And then American Intercontinental University, you got your master's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then currently at Mercer getting his master's right now.
Mm-hmm.
You just won't stop going to school, will you?
Yes, I am.
You just won't stop, huh?
This is my last one, I promise.
I don't think you're going to stop.
I'm stop.
I think you're going to get the PhD.
No. Look, this is degree number 7. This is it. I'm tired. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And one thing about Mr. Oliver, he also knows financial aid really well. He did my financial, even when I transferred to my university, he still did my financial aid.
I did.
And so, I just want to say he's really good. I feel like he's the best. If it was like a market for it, he would be like my large cap, like my blue chip for all those in the investment world. So he also worked at Columbus Tech in financial aid, Chattahoochee Valley Community College, Baylor University, yes, the Baylor University, Columbus State University, and also Mercer University. Am I wrong, Sam?
Nope.
Am I missing something?
No, that was it.
And he's also I don't know how many times, but a multiple time national champion. And I like to say our Greek. People be like, "You ever returned?" I'm like, "No, it's Greek. It's Greek, co-ed." But he's a national winner. So a little bit about that. We went against people across the whole nation: Florida, Alabama. What's another one? Kentucky, New York,
California.
You name it, all the states, and he beat them. Number 1. He got a trophy, but we don't got him. So
No,
yeah.
It's okay.
So yeah. So, so I'm just going to start the interview, right? Let's go. So this one is a little, I like to say, icebreaker.
Okay.
So when I was younger,
okay.
why did you tell me that if you would have started a 2-year college, you would have been richer if you would have started there?
Because, so we got to go back a little bit.
We got to go back?
Yeah, we got to go back.
Okay.
So when I was in high school, I was pushed. Well, back then they had 2 tracks. So they had college track and they had tech track. I graduated with both, so I got a dual seal. But they pushed for certain people in the class, you're going to a university.
Right.
You don't even get to think about going to a tech school.
Oh.
So that's what I came up in. So when I graduated, I went to CSU. It was right up the road. Not the school I wanted to go to. I wanted to go to Albany State. My parents said no.
No comment.
For different
reasons. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not going to comment.
It got something to do with my older brother. We ain't finna go there. But I couldn't go to Albany State, so I went to Columbus State.
Yeah.
Columbus State didn't work out for me. Not the way I planned it to go. So then after some trial and error, I ended up at the Tech. Which is honestly
why the 2-year got to be the? I know it's a 2-year, but why we always got to be the second option?
It always is the second option.
Why you got to be the second, like in a relationship? Like nobody wants to be the backup, like
because people don't promote them that way. Like I mean, I ain't gonna say people don't promote them. Like there's a lot of advertising and promotion. For
no, it's not that much. You said it right.
It's more than it used to be.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Like you would hear maybe on the radio, you might see a billboard or something like that. But as far as like promoting like they do now, no, not back when I was in high school. But they've come a long way. They really have. And then that was my backup. I hate to say it, to go there again. I have a lot of love for my 2-year college.
Yeah. There
So,
we go.
you know, that just was my path in life. And I went there. I didn't go into any debt while I was there. Because of grants and scholarships. I tested out of a few classes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
It's a long time. But yeah, I got 4 degrees.
Hold on, so you said you didn't get no debt after you went back to the 2-year?
No.
But did you get any debt when you went to the 4-year first?
Yes, I did because I was living on campus.
Okay, so that's actually a question real quick because how you didn't get any debt? I'm assuming, did you get your debt through financial aid at CSU?
Yes.
And so by you going to a 2-year, how did you not get any debt while you was at the 2-year?
Because when I was at the 4-year, the first time around, I didn't use all of I was on there for 2 years. So I'm gonna use Pell for example. You get Pell for 6 years if you use it full time.
Right.
So by the time I got to the 2-year school, I still had money left.
Okay.
And then between that and scholarships and all that good stuff, it just worked.
And for all the parents and students who might not know, what is Pell? In simple terms, what is Pell Grant? Who is it for?
So Pell is a grant that you get basically through the Department of Education by completing your FAFSA. So when you fill out your FAFSA, in the past you got this number called the EFC. They changed it now. I think it's called the SAI.
SAI.
Student Aid Index.
Keep it simple for us.
I'm trying to look because they changed so much.
Yeah.
Like a really short amount of time. So now that number determines where you fall on the Pell eligibility chart to determine how much Pell you get.
Okay.
So if you're poor, low income, the more you get.
The more you get.
If you're middle class to high income, you may get a portion or you might not get any at all. It just depends.
Okay.
So all of that kind of falls into that one chunk of money. But because 2-year schools are so, they're not expensive, they're so cheap.
Right.
Pell typically can pay for all of your tuition.
And I think that's interesting because even 2 years now, I still go look, being in school, both in school. I like to look at 2-year colleges a lot. They still haven't moved the needle on their tuition per credit hour.
Not really.
And if you watch our videos, you will know what tuition per credit hour is, so you don't get a free pass on this one. So going into the next question, right?
Okay.
What is financial aid in simple terms? We hear it so much.
Okay.
We see all of this good, change this policy, but what is it?
Okay.
Who is it for? Is it for rich people, poor people? Most people think it's for poor people.
Financial aid, in a nutshell, financial aid is for everybody.
For everybody.
Now, when you get into the different parts of financial aid, then that's where it gets a little tricky. So you have basically everything that's under financial aid can fall under grants, scholarship, loans.
Okay.
So if you look at those 3 categories, you got Pell. Pell Grant is the biggest grant. Now here in Georgia, we have Hope Scholarship, Hope Grant, Zell Miller, all that good stuff. And then you have your student loans, which is federal loans, forgivable loans, state loans. That's another one. Service council loans.
And we be seeing the loans. Some students might see this, they might not understand because it is complicated once they go on the portal, especially for me. Because like I said, you did mine, so I was like, this is complicated, Sam. But one thing I noticed is about the subsidized and unsubsidized. So can you explain that a little bit? Just keep it surface level for us.
Okay, so sub and unsub. That's what we typically call it.
Okay.
So sub is short for subsidized, unsub is short for unsubsidized. Subsidized is the better option because that's a need-based loan.
Okay.
So if you have a need in your financial aid package, you should accept that loan first.
Oh.
Because while you're in school, the government pays the interest on that loan for you.
Oh.
Now with the unsub, that's different. Anybody can get an unsub loan. It don't matter how much money you make.
What's the con though?
You are responsible for that interest.
I like the sub better.
Most people do.
Like sub, you thought I was gonna say it, but you ain't getting it. Advertisement.
I can't.
So financial aid in simple terms is for everybody.
It's for everybody.
It's not a rich or poor thing.
It's not a rich or poor thing. I can see why people think that it's a rich or poor thing because of the way that the policies are sometimes interpreted.
Right.
But it's for everybody. So I'm gonna give you 2 examples. So let's say you got student A over here.
Yeah.
Student A, parents, very, very, very low income.
Ooh.
Unfortunately. Yeah. So they're gonna qualify for everything. They qualify for Pell. If they're in Georgia and have good grades, they'll get Hope. All of that. And they'll qualify for loans if they want. They don't have to take the loans, but they can qualify for them.
Okay.
Student B.
Okay.
Parents make $200,000-$300,000 a year.
Ooh.
So
Six figures.
right. So they can't get Pell
They can.
because that's need based.
Okay.
But they can get Hope because Hope is determined by GPA.
Okay.
So that income has nothing to do with that. So they can still get Hope, and they can also still get sub loans if they want them,
Okay.
because they don't calculate the same way that the sub loans do. So you have two completely different families. Both can qualify for financial aid. They just qualify for two different types of financial aid.
Okay.
So it can go, and there's a lot in between that.
Right,
Like
but-
a lot.
But that's why we come to people like you, right? So we can
I
get
guess.
that cleared up.
I hope so.
It's all public record. It's all public record.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
as a person who has almost a decade, I believe, do you have a decade or almost a decade?
I'm creeping up there.
I calculated almost a decade, but is it a decade?
2025 will be a decade.
Okay,
I'm
almost a
there.
decade.
I'm almost there.
So, with all that experience, are there any barriers to financial aid? If so, what are some you would like to discuss?
There are quite a few barriers to financial aid.
Well, let's talk about one. If it leads to another one, let's talk about that. But
Okay.
let's keep it simple though.
So I'm going to use a real experience from some
Okay.
years ago.
Okay.
Not gonna say the school. Not gonna say where it was.
We ain't gonna say
we ain't
school.
gonna get it.
Cause y'all ain't paying for them advertisements.
Well, that's one reason. Yeah. But okay. So students, you probably remember verification. Okay. So yeah, I know you.
Nah, if I come to you and keep like you saying,
Okay. Verification also can get a little tricky. So the federal rules say that schools have to pick a certain amount of students to be selected for verification at random.
Mhm.
So it's not, oh, you look funny, I'm gonna pick you. Now the schools have the right to pick somebody if the stuff don't look right. But 9 times out of 10 they just go with whatever the system picks. So you have, and I think it's, don't quote me on this, it's 30-ish%, 31, 35, somewhere in there. So they pick the students. So let's say you're a student. Let's say hypothetically your parents have no income. So that means they're probably on disability, Section 8, food stamps, whatever.
Right.
So with verification, the way that it used to be set up, it's hard to prove that you're broke.
Huh?
Like
It's hard to prove that I'm broke.
It's hard, like, and I didn't believe it until I saw it for myself. It's easy to prove that you have a little bit of money. It's easy to prove that you got a lot of money. It is hard to prove that you don't have any money because of the stuff that they want you to turn in.
I don't have nothing.
That's the point. So how can you verify something that you don't have? And then if you turn in a certain amount, they say, well, you can't live off. So let's just say you turn in something that say, okay, well, I get this building. I get $10,000 a year. So then the school can turn around and say, well, that's not enough for you to live off of because that's below the poverty line. What else did you do? So now you have to prove how you live, and you might not have that proof.
So does this prevent a lot of students from going to school?
It can prevent a lot of, not to bring this into it, it can prevent a lot of black and brown people from going to school. Because it's hard to prove.
Right.
Not saying the other races can't.
Right.
You know, because they follow that too.
Right.
But it's really, really hard to
Right.
prove that. Some schools have even had to create a form just for that. But then even with the school creating a form, it was still complicated. So it still required students to either get this or grab that or pull this number out there just so they could get financial aid because they couldn't prove it. So now that's one of my gripes. Now verification has gotten better. They let some stuff go. They changed some rules. They've changed some policies. It's not as bad as it used to be.
Okay.
But now with this new FAFSA simplification thing coming out, ISAs are delayed.
I got something to say about FAFSA real
Whole
quick.
nother
The
problem.
people who run FAFSA, because this is our platform, we can say what we want to say. But the people on FAFSA who I don't know the name, was it the National Financial, what is it called?
That's
NASFA. I don't like NASFA because the financial aid is trash, but they out here handing out awards as if they're doing something good. I just got a problem with that. If FAFSA is doing so good, why we got so many complaints about stuff and y'all handing out awards? Like when I say awards, I'm not talking about awards to students. I'm talking about awards to like staff members on, oh, you're doing a good job, when no, you're not. Like FAFSA is not where it should be. Because I always tell them we gotta look at it from a world perspective. Other countries have financial. It's probably not called financial aid, but it probably is. But I'm not gonna speak on something I don't know yet. But I will have the information on that pretty soon.
Now, I will say this. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
I will say this. NASFA. Okay, so now we have this. Where we get into different organizations again.
Oh.
You have NASFA, and you have the Federal Student Aid / the Department of Ed.
Right.
They are the one that handle the FAFSA.
The Department of Education?
Yes.
Oh.
That's a federal form.
Right.
From them. NASFA is an organization that's designed to get information out to people about the stuff that comes from over here.
So they're like a media company, ain't it?
It's like
A news anchor or something?
I'm trying to think of a good comparison for them. They're kind of like a liaison
Okay.
for the Department of Ed. Like,
Okay.
if the Department of Ed says, well, we're going to create this policy, and this policy may suck, NASFA will say, well, we're going to write a letter to the Secretary of Education on behalf of all the financial aid to say that this isn't going to work.
So when you said organization, you kind of hit on the next question kind of as a follow-up.
Oh, okay.
So do you feel like financial aid is an internal problem or external problem?
Jesus. Okay. Financial aid. That's a good one. So, okay. Financial aid. Let's talk about new financial aid.
Let's talk about new.
So now they've simplified.
We're going to call it new, like ATL.
Like on ATL. So let's talk about the simplified FAFSA. So the FAFSA went from 106 questions down to 30 something. So it got cut dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So it is simpler for the student, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more complicated on the back end because they've changed so much stuff for the schools.
Hmm.
So that's problem number one.
Okay.
Problem number two, when you're approved for financial aid,
Right.
so when when you do your FAFSA, you get the thing that says congratulations, you qualify.
It's supposed to hit the school and about.
Right. Okay. So I always tell students, you have to be approved twice. So you have to be approved by the federal processor, which is the FAFSA, and you have to be approved by the school policy, which is at the local school.
Yeah.
So if the FAFSA say, okay, well you're going to get $6,000 in Pell.
Hold up, $6,000 a Pell.
Mhm.
That's for fall and spring. Right.
Yes.
People got to keep that in mind. When he says $5,000 or $6,000, that's for your fall and spring semester. That's not for one semester. That's half. We got to divide that by 2.
Yeah.
So you really only got, if it's 6,000, you only got 3,000.
And
But
that's
y'all,
if you go full time.
no, Siri, nobody talking to you right now. You messing up my video. Goodbye.
And that's if you go full time. Don't think you're gonna take one class and get $3,000.
Yeah. So if you only get 3,000 for Pell, but you going to a school that costs $5,000 or $6,000 for one semester, you got to do the math because that math ain't mathing. That's what
Math
you're
ain't
saying?
mathing.
Math ain't mathing. So
That's not how you gonna get a free degree. You see how I plugged that?
yeah, you see that's free game right there.
That was good. But like I was saying, like you have to be approved twice. So
Okay.
if the FAFSA says, okay, well you can qualify for 5,000, but if you're not meeting SAP at the school, you're not going to get it, regardless of what the FAFSA say, because you have to meet the school policy and the federal policy. If the FAFSA says you can get $10,000 worth of loans, but the school has calculated that you've used up all your loans and you've reached the limit, so now you got a conflict. They have to be in agreement with each other. If there's any conflict anywhere between those two, you're not going to get it.
So this is not really a question, but doesn't the student have to be on top of it? Because this all takes time. Like we gotta think school coming up, the first semester, you got dropping ad period. This is why some students, I'm assuming this is why some students get dropped when they start classes. They're like, it just seems like it take a lot of time between all of that. It sounds like we talking about it and it happens like smoothly, but
yeah, it takes. So okay, so let's do a mock timeline.
Okay.
So you fill out the FAFSA.
Right.
We just gonna say January 1st.
Right.
So you fill out the FAFSA January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
It takes 3 to 5 days to process.
Okay.
So now let's say by the time the school get it, let's say January the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So the school has to get it. If you're selected for verification, that's a process. If you're not meeting SAP, that's a separate process. If you need to appeal for any other reason, whether it's academic or financial aid, that's another process. So it's a lot of, it can get really convoluted really quick.
Process.
So if you don't stay on top of it, like we were talking about with grad school, if you don't stay on top of it, you'll never know and you'll never catch up. But the schools have a responsibility also to notify the student in an appropriate amount of time.
You heard what he said? The school has a responsibility to notify the student in the appropriate time. That's kind of like knowing a law or a rule, because if a school try to hold you accountable for not telling you in a timely manner, get it in the email, get it in the documentation, hold them accountable. Because I'm not gonna say you can sue or something. That's crazy. That's bizarre.
Yeah, that's
but
doing too much.
I'm gonna say you can fight for your right to be in that class, because you can miss a class potentially by not getting your money on time.
Yep.
And then the class can get taken up, and they won't possibly put you back in. You have to take another class. So this is why this is important, coming from a professional as Sam. I'm a professional too, but as Sam, who's more at a decade experience. And so that leads into the next one.
Okay.
So why does financial aid, you talked about loans a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of financial aid.
Yes.
So why does financial aid push so heavily on student loans as the only way to pay for school when it's not?
Depends on the school.
Okay.
So there are some students, and this can get real convoluted too.
Right.
There are some students that
We're keeping it simple, baby.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
You're doing good. Because right now
I'm
I'm in tune. I'm staying in there.
So there are some students that require strictly on loans to go to school.
Wow.
So there's no, and I'm talking about 2-year school, 4-year school. There's no parental help. There's no Pell. There's no Hope. There's no state aid. There's no VA. There's no nothing. Like if they don't take out a loan outside of working, if they don't take out a loan, they can't go to school. And a lot of people will say, well, why don't they just get a job and pay for school?
Right.
That is a valid point.
Valid point.
But what they have to realize is that the bursar's office or the business office has a deadline. And if they're working through the whole semester, they can't pay the whole semester at the beginning of the semester because they got to work. So it doesn't necessarily work that way. So there are some students that have to get loans.
You gotta start early.
You do.
You gotta start early. So
Now,
y'all getting this information now. You in high school. Hopefully, your parents telling you get it early, so you can be like, okay, I need to save up
Right.
3 or 4 years out, so old Sally Mae don't get me. Y'all don't know about Sally Mae yet.
So Sally.
Old Sally.
Sally don't be playing with them.
Hey, that's a real person. Y'all better do your research. That's a real person right there. That's a mom and pop loan. We ain't even gonna get into that. That's too much game for y'all right
Oh,
now.
jeez. But yeah, so that's one side of the spectrum. Now you have the other side of the spectrum where students qualify for state aid, they qualify for federal aid, work study, SELG, whenever they decide to get that out. So, but then they take out loans because they can. So it's the difference between the student that takes it out because they absolutely need it, they don't have a choice, versus the student who gets a $3,000 refund with no loans and decide, well, I'm gonna take out a loan so I get a $7,000 refund because I want to go buy a bunch of shoes. I have literally seen that before. Like they came in there and said, they didn't say that they want to go shopping.
I think.
But the next time I saw them, they were like,
I think we can speak from experience. Alice in the back. I think we can speak from experience. We've seen a fair share of college students do the craziest things with their refund money and with their loan money. There's not no secret. Actually, they was talking about it on CNBC that students often take their money and gamble with it, actually, and putting it into gambling facilities and doing everything but what they're supposed to do with it. But I guess it's American. It's the American way. It's capitalism.
And I'm not trying to sound condescending because my first few refunds when I was at CSU, my first few refunds went straight to GameStop. So I can't talk about nobody. So I get it. I've been there.
These shoes, they gonna see them, but these shoes I got on my feet, I bought them with a refund. Actually, I bought them when we won a scholarship at the 2-year. At the 2-year, I had won a scholarship, and I remember I took it to it to my financial advisor, and then I took the other portion of it and I bought these shoes.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, so no judgment for me because I've been there. It was GameStop. JCPenney, everything that's at the mall. Because I didn't have a car, so I had to walk to the mall to get it.
So I guess the next question is, this is kind of like, we're going to hit on it. What are the best ways for students and parents to save and stretch their financial aid, such as scholarships, like you said, grants, loans? Am I missing anything? Because we call it our tree of sources.
I mean, they're pretty much
like, everybody... I like to keep it clear because I have people that comment on the YouTube channel, like presidents, they comment, they say, everybody doesn't get paid to go to school. We know that. But we're saying that everybody uses some type of aid to go to school. It's not, the way I feel like life is set up, if somebody's really rich, they're going to use their parents' money to go to school. But or if they, like you said, middle class, they just got enough. They're still going to use that type of money or just cash money. And then if not, they're going to use military. Or if not, they're going to use military. They fall into Pell somehow. If it's not Pell, it's some type of source they're going to use. Yeah. It's always somebody got something. Everybody's different. We understand that. Mm-hmm. But what's the best way for them to stretch it? Will it be starting at a 2-year first, or does it even matter if they start a 2-year first? Does that make a difference? Am I making this confusing?
No, I got you.
You got me.
Yeah, I follow.
Cause real quick, because I feel like when I started at a 2-year, I do feel like I was a Pell Grant student / Hope because we're in Georgia, but I do feel like my aid in general lasted longer because I started at a 2-year college. Because everybody, that leads into the 150% I think you talked about before, Sam. We talked about offering before.
150 for SAP.
When you get aid, they give you 150%, I believe.
Oh yeah,
like credit hour or something like that.
Yeah, so like if your program is 60 credit hours, you have 90 credit hours to finish it.
Right.
And if as soon as you hit hour 91,
right,
then you lose your financial aid.
So in simple terms, if I'm not mistaken, you don't got much time. You need to complete your degree and get out, because if you don't do it in an amount of time, your aid, because this is financial aid we're talking about, your aid is going to run out. It's not even run out, they're just going to take it away.
You're going to lose it.
You're just
because they figure you should, because you get a time, you get however, and it's not based off of time, it's based off the hours.
Hours?
Yeah, so I make that clear, because if you're in a 2-year program,
right,
but you're only going half time,
right,
in essence that's a 4-year program, because now you're stretching it.
Right.
So your money would still match up with that time, because your Pell, for example, is based on enrollment.
Right.
So you wouldn't get full Pell for going half time. You get half Pell. So that would still stretch for those 4 years. And then you would
still... Did you just get game?
Sure.
Did you just get, I think you just gave game. So you said, so let's keep it simple. So you said, like, since you go to a 2-year, and you're using aid, because this is financial aid once again. I know y'all thinking, oh, everybody don't get financial aid. This is financial aid. So everybody if somebody starts at a 2-year, and you said they're getting half the aid, right? But they're still getting covered though, because usually the aid is gonna give you enough to pay for school.
Right.
Right.
In most cases.
In most cases.
Yeah,
we got our own market in college, y'all. The market changed like crazy. So
now it probably wouldn't work at a 4-year.
Right.
Probably.
Right.
Because 2-year.
Because at a 4-year, just making sure, fact checking with you, they have room.
If they stay on campus, yeah.
Right.
If they stay off campus. But because, the 4-year tuition is higher.
Right.
So the Pell doesn't care how much your tuition is, you're going to get a set amount.
Say it again. Look at the camera, say it again.
So you're going to get one amount. So if your tuition is $100 a credit hour, or if your tuition is $1,000 a credit hour, your Pell going to be the same.
It's going to be the same.
You need to acknowledge that.
Which means this is where I come in, guys, and I say, well, they're only going to give you this. Once you say, Henry, I'm only getting $5,000 for the year, and I'm going to say, you should go here at this 2-year, because they're going to cover it, because the tuition for the first semester and second semester is only $4,000. So you should get that $1,000 back. You should. I can't quote that, but your school is paid for that quick.
Yeah, and let me say. I lost my train of thought. It was something about
you good. I can break
it was
it
something
back
about
in.
2-year schools. I can't remember.
You good.
We'll come back to it.
So, so that's what leads into the next one. So, does a student save more on financial aid by starting at a 2-year college? Do they save more on their financial aid?
I would say uninhibitedly yes, and let me tell you why. So because the 2 years are so much cheaper,
right,
they don't have to tap into additional money yet. So if they do their 2 years,
when you say additional money, what's that?
Like loans, if they have to go that route.
Okay.
So because when they go to the 4-year, depending on if they have to stay on campus, which 4-year it is, they may have to get a loan.
And at 2 years, you can stay on campus and get a meal plan at certain 2 years, but don't do that. Don't do that.
It's not many 2 years that offer housing anymore.
But
because of that.
if they do that, don't do that. Just walk away from the school in general. Like, unless, especially if you're not an athlete, that's another topic.
Yeah. That's
you would say
uninhibitedly
unhibitedly.
Yes, because so let's use random 2-year school, for example. So
Random
you do
2-year.
your first 2 years.
Henry Lee 2-year college.
I like it.
Okay.
HLC. So UOVM. So you do your 2 years at this school, and you only had to use Pell. You only had to use Hope.
Mm-hmm.
So that's solidified. You graduate. You go to the 4-year school. You go to HLU.
Mm-hmm.
HLU say, well, our tuition is this. You can stay on campus or you cannot stay on campus. You decide not to stay on campus, which is great, saving money. So you don't stay on campus, but because their tuition is higher, your Pell may not be able to cover it because between their tuition and them fees will get you too. Between the tuition and the fees, you might not be able to afford it with just Pell alone. And depending on how much overage there is, you might have to take out a loan. But here's the kicker with that: just because they offer you $10,000, you don't have to take the full 10. if you're gonna owe $1,500, take out the $1,500. Well, 16 by the time you take out the fee. Take out the $1,600 and pay that. So now you're repaying close to $2,000 instead of, well, at that time close to $2,000 instead of 10, 15, 20.
And this just came to me real quick. Most people don't know this. I didn't even know this. But you can combine, is it possible to combine your aid? So like if you're a financial aid, getting some part of financial aid, but you're also like military or you got scholarships, like scholarship might be separate. Can all that just go together?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
It depends on how the instructions are written for it.
Okay.
So let's just say, I'm going to give you two, I like 2 scenarios.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 2 scenarios with that. So let's just say you get Pell, and then you have a third-party scholarship.
Right.
So this third-party scholarship is going to pay all your tuition. But they say that their scholarship has to pay first. So the way Pell is stackable. So if that scholarship comes in and pays all your tuition, you can still get your Pell on top of that. But you also have the right to decline your Pell if you want to save it for later.
You have the right to decline your Pell?
Yeah, you don't have to get it. The school automatically accepts it because it's free money. But you can go in and decline it.
So hold up. Can you in financial aid general? Can you decline anything like? Because I like to think of different states. So different state. This applies to different states as well.
Well, Pell is federal, so
that's everywhere. And so Hope is only in Georgia, but like, so we know other states. Some other states have their own, like, it might not be called Hope. Yeah, it might be called different names. But can they decline that as well?
Yeah, you don't have to take in.
I told somebody that, and I'm not gonna call them out because they don't deserve the advertisement. But that's a fancy way of me not cussing on camera, y'all. But they said you couldn't decline it. And I told them I declined it before. I told them, no, I'm going to use my own money because I was saving money, making money in school. I said, I could pay for a summer semester. It was only $700, $800. I could pay for that. I'm going to save that $800 maybe and use it for, something. I don't know, but that's how I was thinking.
As long as the school has it in writing that you don't want to use it, they can take it off.
Free game.
You don't have to take it. So when your financial aid comes in, the school automatically accepts stuff that you don't have to pay back. Now they can't accept a loan for you because you got to pay that back. But they can accept scholarships, they can accept grants that are coming into the school that they know about. If you don't want to use them, because with Pell you have a lifetime limit, right. So you have those 6 years. So if you say, well, this scholarship is going to pay for my first year, so it's going to pay for my tuition, it's going to pay for my books. I don't need to use Pell. So you can decline that Pell. And so now you still got a full 6 years of Pell, even though you've gone to school for a year. Okay. Or you can stack it on top. Your choice.
Your choice.
Now, that's the stackable part. Let's go to a part that's not stackable. So there's certain forms of VA that can't stack with Pell. So if, like Chapter 33, in the state, it used to be in the state of Georgia, when Chapter 33 comes in, because it pays tuition. Hope and Chapter 33 can't pay at the same time because they're both designated to pay the exact same thing. So those two aren't stackable. Now, if your Chapter 33 pays, and then there's a small, let's say you were running out and you only had, 6 hours of 33, but you're taking 9 hours. So you can get 33 for those 6.
When
and
you
your
say
hope can
9
come in.
hours, like 9 credit
Hours. Sorry.
Okay.
So your VA can pay for those 6 credit hours.
Right.
And then your hope can pay for those other 3 credit hours because you ran out of the other one.
And remember, when you say hope, that applies to different states. It's might be a different name.
Yeah, we're in Georgia. So
we're in Georgia.
We keep hope alive. So, like, it's just different forms of things are stackable. Some things aren't stackable.
Okay.
If the scholarship people say, well, this has to be paid for this semester and this semester only, it has to be paid for that semester. Like whatever their rules designate, that's what the school has to do.
Okay.
Now, if you want to stack on top of that or not stack on top of that, that's up to you. But there are options. But you 1,000% do not have to accept financial aid.
1,000%.
I
I should get that on the shirt.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't take that idea.
I've had students, VA students, write me a letter. I don't want to use Pell. Okay, we're going there, zero it out.
Okay.
Send it back to card, like it never happened. Now, if it's already paid out, now we get into that's another ring.
We get these negotiation
now
skills though.
now we got to return stuff.
You walk in the financial aid, they're gonna be like, I don't want. You gonna be like, I don't want. They're gonna be like, you have to take it. You be like, no, I don't.
Like it's already.
No,
paid.
I don't.
It'll paid out.
I did my research.
But before anything dispersed, before anything is paid, if you don't want to use that or you want to pay for it yourself or whatever the case may be, you don't have to take it. They just give you. They just automatically give it to you because you don't have to pay it back.
And so that's a lot of free game you just gave. Your negotiating skills should be a lot better.
Oh my God.
I feel like it should be a lot better. You should save some money now. I feel like you should be saving some money now. But I do have one more question though before we go. Big bro, one more question.
What up?
What is something a parent or student, because you know, sometimes the parents let the students do all the work and sometimes they rely on their parents. But what is something a parent or student should know about financial aid before they get started?
To do it early.
To do it early?
Now this year,
What's the...
we just gonna ignore this year.
So, this year was awful.
This year been a mess.
So what's the, because some people be like, this ain't helping me save money. This ain't helping me save time. So if they don't do their financial aid early and they're relying on it to be a source for school, what can this, like, what can be the consequences of not doing it on time or doing it early?
Okay, so if you do it early, typically it comes out October 1. That's when it's supposed to come out. This year it came out December 31st, but it usually comes out October 1. So the schools start receiving them typically between January and March. So most schools do. So that gives you time to talk to the school, see what money you got coming in, see if there are any outside scholarships at the school that you can apply for through either their foundation or through their enrichment services or whatever the case may be. So you can get a better scope of what you're walking into. Basically, you have time. When you have time, you can figure stuff out.
Right.
If you wait until, so school starts August the 1st and you fill out your FAFSA July 15th, and it's going to take a week to get there, you going to basically get what they got because you haven't had time to research anything.
So you going to get what they got? Hold up, what you mean?
Not on the I get what you're saying. Not like that. Like, you're going to get whatever everybody else got, pretty much. In most cases, because like you're dealing with federal. If you're in Georgia, you got hope, and then you're dealing with loans. Right. So you'll still get the qualifications for that, but you might miss out on some additional stuff that you would have had time to research if you had done it early. But the problem is a lot of students wait until the very last to do stuff. So now they're rushing. So they're going to accept everything. So they'll accept $10,000 worth of loan because they don't think it's enough because they don't know how much their actual bill is. Because they never
because you don't know.
Look at it.
You got to look at it.
It can, like when you're rushing, it can get real convoluted really quick. So I say start early, leave no rock unturned. You talk to everybody, talk to financial aid, talk to the registrar, talk to academic advisor, talk to everybody you can, so that you can get a full as you can and complete understanding of what you're getting yourself into. Because honestly, if I had knew that with my 4 year back then when I first started, and I started early, I probably wouldn't have stayed there anyway. Now that's me, but I didn't know that at the time. I was young.
And he said his 4 year. He said his 4 year. If he had known that sooner, he probably wouldn't have stayed there, and he didn't stay there.
So here's my story.
Right.
So I graduated high school.
Right.
I was third in my class. So university. I went to my 4 year school. And I started out.
No, my editing skills pretty good. You good?
Oh,
I can
okay.
get that. I can get that.
So I started out pretty good. First year, had 3.0, kept my hope. Second year was rough. I got a 2.96 at the end of my sophomore year.
Ooh.
So I lost hope going into my junior year. In my junior year, I broke my leg. I had to drop all of
skateboarding.
a hole in the ground. Don't even want to talk. Every time I see a hole, I get mad. I broke my leg, so I had to drop all of my classes that spring semester. Fall or spring, I can't remember. But I was taking like 21 hours that semester because I was trying to get my hope back. So I dropped all those classes. And then the next semester, I was notified about SAP. I didn't know what SAP was.
Actually, what is SAP? I was going to ask you about that. What is SAP real quick?
Satisfactory Academic Progress.
Okay.
So you have to be meeting all three of the components of that.
Okay.
The 67% completion rate, the 150% rule, and the 2.0 GPA.
Okay.
I had the GPA. I wasn't nowhere near the 150%. My problem was completion rate because I dropped so many hours.
Completion rate.
Yes. So,
We ain't gonna get into that. But SAP, okay.
yeah. So,
Back to the story.
I lost my financial aid.
Right.
The next semester, I was still living on campus. The next semester, I tried to get my financial aid back. I appealed it. I said I broke my leg.
He appealed. It sounds like he in the courthouse, don't it?
That would it feel like. So I appealed it. They said no. But they didn't get back with me with my answer until the middle of the semester. So by that time, I've been in housing for 3 months. So I still owed that balance for the housing. And as a matter of principle, I told them I wasn't going to pay it. And I'm still not going to pay it. It's still there. So, and I made plenty of money said then that I could have paid it. I said no. So I had to leave. So they kicked me out. The kicker with that was when they kicked me out, I couldn't get my transcript. So no school in the university system of Georgia would accept me. Well, they would accept me, but I couldn't get financial aid because in order to get financial aid, you have to submit all your transcripts to the school. I couldn't get the school transcript from them because I owed them like $3,000.
So since you owe them money, they pretty much saying, "Oh, you ain't getting any transcript."
That's their right.
And don't that sound like a business? Don't that sound like some stuff?
It
sound like
is.
something on the block. Like, oh, you better not come over here and you owe some. That's how it sound like. Wait, you gonna give me my
what it is.
transcript?
I have gotten to arguing with so many people in financial aid about that policy because I'm the outlier. I say that a school shouldn't be able to hold your transcript because you earned those grades.
You earn like
and they were paid for it at the time. So you probably you can hold my grades from this semester.
No, your school.
But you can't hold my grades from classes I took 3 years ago. Because hey, big boy earned that. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation.
I couldn't go to any university. I sat out. I was depressed for like 2 years because I couldn't. I was stuck. I couldn't do that. My parents didn't have no $3,000. I didn't either. So Columbus Tech. They took me without
2 year college.
2 year college.
2 year college.
Took me
You
without.
say how I waited. Sorry,
I appreciate
that part.
I appreciate it.
2 year college.
They took me without the transcript.
Okay.
So because of that,
do a lot of 2 years work like that? They'll take you without the transcript, or there's only certain ones.
most of them will take you without it.
Okay.
If you know.
So if your transcript is on hold, you can pretty much go to a 2 year and they should take you. They should.
They should.
Oh yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Ain't gonna say they will. Ain't gonna say they will.
We let the disclaimer be in the beginning.
Thank God for this 2 years. So
Yes.
they took it. I essentially started over. I was a junior in college and I had to start all over again. And then I started over and I went through my 2 years, then my 4 years, then 2 year, 2
That
year,
is
2 year, 2
crazy.
year, then a 4 year, then
That's
my master's,
crazy.
and now here I am again. It's tragic, but I tell you. All because of one semester.
One semester. That's all it takes.
That's all it took. Was
One semester.
One semester.
Well, I think
Well, I guess if you want to get technical, it was two.
two.
Because
We're gonna say two to make the story better.
yeah, because the semester prior to that, I dropped out of a
Then
sociology
they're
class.
gonna look up. They're gonna be like, oh dang, he really is in here. They're gonna be like,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm in there.
Anything else before we go? I think this was great. This was. I feel like this was a good one.
Yeah, I think
feel-
I'm gonna touch on something that you touched on in a video before, and that's what I was gonna say earlier. I remember what I was gonna say now
What's that?
about the going from the 2 year to the 4 year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't speak for all states, but in Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
back in 2013, they made it so that there was a lot of intersectionality between the 2 years and the 4 year schools.
Mm-hmm.
So back prior to 2013, the 2 year schools would have like English 101,
Mm-hmm.
and the 4 year schools would have English 1101, and there was some conflict when it came to transfer.
Because
Now-
people don't know their jobs.
Kind of. So now all those they pretty much match. So 1101 over here, 1101
Oh,
over here.
right. Mm-hmm.
There's no issue.
Right.
So you can literally get the same classes at 2 year that you're gonna get at the 4
I
year.
ain't tell him to say this.
Like
I think he
it's-
just seen my shirt and he said it, but I ain't tell him to say this.
We'll go with that. So it's literally the same. English, math, psychology, sociology, Comp 1000, all that stuff is exactly the same.
Does that sound?
So-
I don't think people realize
Yeah.
that. Before we go, once again, that at every institution in the world, at least in the United States,
Mhm.
it's like that. It's like that. It has to be like that. That's of course, a Department of Education. If you go look at the public view, but it's like that. It don't matter. Like you go to the biggest school out there, they gonna take this English 1101, this math 1101 for
Long as
some
it's
odd
credited.
reason. As long as it's credited.
As long as it's
Please,
credited.
and that will be a video.
That's a
Please.
whole nother. That's
That's a whole nother. I definitely gonna interview somebody for that.
I
But
wrote a thesis paper on that for my master's degree.
we're gonna see y'all because we talking. You can cut it out.